me. We don't
that's
actually drink to it. We just talk about how funny it would be if it was a drinking game. You'd be completely wasted like 2 minutes in.
Yeah, most probably. Virtually every single word of theirs. Yeah. But,
Exactly.
but yeah, I found it's not just with any media covering what politicians are saying. It's actually most of the stuff that comes out of the media. I mean, there was a program on ITV, last night. It's called the Tonight program, and, it comes on. It's like half-hour show, and it's specifically, topic orientated to, relevant issues that are going on in the UK. And last night was something about poverty in the UK, and I always have to put that on mute, because if I listen to it, I'm going to start ranting like 2 seconds in, because they bring up these points, and it's
mind numbing.
It's not just mind numbing. It's so infuriating to know that they're scraping through all these different issues, and it's the sort of thing that I've found, especially for a TZM activist, it's just fuel for our fire, because I dare say, if either myself or you made a response video to one of those episodes, we would have to basically pick apart every single sentence that every single sentence, and there was a thing, because I just had it on mute while I was doing other stuff on the laptop, and I just happened to look up, and there was this graphic on there that basically said something about the multi-layered approaches to the root causes of poverty. And I just sat there with just a gape. I was like, do they really appreciate what that would actually entail?
Mm-hmm.
Do they really have any idea what the root cause? Oh, what do they think it is? Oh, funding for something needs to be cut from something else and put over here. What? Just sit down any politician and just ask them, well, what if you were to make an analogy of what that process is? Would you say that might be, I don't know, taking a deck chair on the Titanic and putting it over here instead of over there? It's just so.
That's a really good analogy.
So infuriating.
God.
Well, yeah.
No, we need a new ship. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you.
Exactly. That analogy is quite an old analogy, like shifting around the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, even though it's such an old notion, it's still so. People are so blinded against it. They think that, that patchwork is actually going to solve things. And, it's just so infuriating to try and just, I think a lot of people don't appreciate the kind of cognitive, things we have to go to just to bite our tongue and just not say anything,
Definitely. There's one, I actually didn't hear it myself. I heard it from Justin, who fortunately had listened to it. But it's something that I kind of take with me. I take to heart, just kind of how to deal with these things and the frustrations that we witness every day, or I should say the inefficiency that we witness every day, and the frustrations that we experience from seeing that inefficiency or hearing that inefficiency, and just the complete disconnect from anything relevant ever. And I think he said that somebody had called into the radio show when Peter was doing a show, and he said, is it bad that I just cannot wait for the economy to collapse? Like, is it bad that I just absolutely cannot wait? I just want society to collapse so bad, because at least then something would happen. And I just, I guess he was feeling really guilty, and he's just like, I have so much anxiety, and how do I try to keep it together and try to stay sane in this insane world? And I think Peter had some really sound advice, and it doesn't even really take a psychologist. You just kind of have to have been doing it as long as he is, I guess, or has been. And he said, I think you just have to he said, I step out into the world and, I see so much inefficiency everywhere I look, and it's just infuriating, but I have to remember that we have to just take these things one step at a time. I am doing something to try to further this direction and to try to change the direction of our world and of humanity and everything. That in and of itself is a small comforting thought, just because I know I'm not sitting by and just looking and not doing anything. And then also you have to remember to still live your life and be yourself and do things that you enjoy and be around people that you enjoy and just take a deep breath sometimes, because otherwise, oh my gosh, I just don't even want to think otherwise. That would be bad, suicidal almost. You just have to really take that deep breath and just kind of remember to take it in stride and try to have fun with it and enjoy yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've found that, that taking that positive angle and also just reassuring yourself that the fault doesn't lie with you. You're not the problem. It's as Lisa Simpson once said, it's the whole damn system that's wrong. Yeah. But
exactly.
But just recognizing that you're not to blame for this. You've been brought into it. Yes, because you're here. This is one of the things that I've been thinking about lately, about whether because we've been born here, does that mean that we're now do we actually harbour a responsibility even though we didn't ask to be here? Because I did a thing on the UK Collapse radio show after watching a Doug Stanhope show. It was the particular show in question was before turning the gun on himself, and the particular quote is towards the end where he basically expresses I don't know whether he was doing this ironically or not, but knowing a lot of Doug Stanhope's material, was probably serious when he was saying that. But he was saying that I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm treating this earth like the rental car that it is. So I'm bringing it in trashed with the bumper hanging off. Fuck your insurance.
Oh my gosh.
Fuck the environment. I didn't ask to be here. And that really got me thinking into the notion of, because one of the things that I say to sort of combat the people who say, I'm proud to be British, I say, well, did you ask to be here? No, you didn't. I mean, you can only be proud to be British if you decided to be.
If you made a conscious choice, right?
Exactly. So if we didn't choose to be here, why should we be held responsible for what other people have done? And I kind of think, well, we can't rely on anyone else. We have to take responsibility. So I was, every now and then I sort of play devil's advocate with my whole brain set, as it were. And I made a whole segment on UK Collapse Radio about it, that, do we have responsibility? And that's the thing. I keep thinking to myself, whether we do actually have responsibility, and where does that responsibility start and where does it end?
Exactly.
What would you have to say about that sort of thing?
I think it for a lot of people would go back to morality. I mean, people who just don't care, even if you said that they did have responsibility, they might be along the lines of, well, even if you say I do, that doesn't mean I have to take up that responsibility. I'm only going to be here for, whatever, 60-year lifespan or something. There's only but so much I can do. So I'm going to do what I need to do to take care of myself and feed myself and take care of my family. And if I trash the environment in the process, then it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be here in so and so many years. But I actually talk about that a little bit in one of my videos. I think it's the second video I ever did, where a lot of people say, it's just not possible to see a realistic change in such a short period of time. I'm not going to see it in my lifetime. So what's the point? Why should I be responsible for future generations? But the thing is I think if everybody says that, if everybody says, well, I'm not going to be here long enough, I won't see any change, then we're never ever going to see any change, regardless of whether it's while or after we're gone. Somebody has to be willing to do something selfless. There's a quote, but I can't think of what it is. Something about shade and old man's trees or something. I'll have to find it somewhere, but
can't think of that off the top of my head. No.
Yeah, it's talking about how basically like the future generation gets shade from trees that, people have planted before, something like that, which Makes perfect sense. And I think you have to kind of look at it like that, where, okay, maybe future generations might benefit from everything that even the Zeitgeist movement is doing right now and other organizations are doing right now. Future generations might benefit from that. And maybe it's different for people who have kids, because they're like, well, I have kids and they're going to grow up in this world and they might have grandkids and I'm going to leave a legacy and I want them to have a healthy world, so I have an incentive. But maybe if you don't have any, then you think, what's the point? Well, I mean, it all goes back to, I'm not going to go so far as to say our purpose for being here, because, I mean, depending on your religion and whatever, you might not even feel like we have a purpose, but we are empathic beings in a sense. And I feel like if you care at all about other people, then you do have a responsibility, because, you know, there's always room for improvement. You can always make things better. You can always decrease suffering. And so maybe you didn't ask to be here, but so what? You are here. It's the same as if you were walking down the street and somebody fell or got hurt, had an accident, there's a fire and there's, you know, you're trying to help. You didn't ask to be there either, but aren't you still maybe going to try to do something to help, you know? Yeah. So I guess it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that, you know, it's one of the realizations I came to, in the last year or so, that, you know, even if the change that we advocate for isn't going to, you know, materialize or whatever in our lifetimes, that doesn't matter, because as far as I can see, it's the highest calling to actually do something that we won't personally benefit from, because we know that if previous generations had done what we're doing, we wouldn't have inherited such a huge mess. And for the people who complain about the kind of world that we have, but at the same time they can't be bothered to do anything, one of the things I say to them is, the reason why you're complaining is, you know, because every single and the reason why, and the reason why you think that it won't happen in your lifetime or it won't happen ever is because every single generation before you has had that exact same mentality. So how about we break that cycle? You know?
Brilliant, genius. I'm going to make a t-shirt that says that.
Well, it's gonna have to, well, I'll have to boil it down.
Cut it down a little. We'll have to make it a little more concise.
Well, but I'm afraid this is all the time we have for this show, I'm afraid, Brandy. If you want to, just to close it out, if you want to, shout out any websites or anything that you want, that you'd like our audience to look into.
Not other than, you know, obviously our main website, www.thezeitgeistmovement.com. And there's also something I point people to all the time is adciv.org. It's like an abbreviation for Advanced Civilization, just adciv.org. And it's got a lot of great information about a post-scarcity society and probably some angles that people haven't looked at it yet from. So.
All right. Okay. Okey-doke. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Brandy. It was absolutely fantastic. You know, I'd love to have you on, again for, I don't know, 15 more shows. But this is all the time we have. So thank you very much for coming on, Brandy.
As for the next show, I'm going to be resuming my chat with Neil Kiernan from V Radio.
Thank you everyone for listening. So it's a goodbye from me, and say goodbye, Brandy.
Bye. Thanks a lot.